Good afternoon to everyone. I hope this is a wonderful day for you. I am so thankful to God because He has blessed us to be here one more time. It is such a blessing. Dear God, as I sit before you to speak, I pray to you that my soul you will keep. And if I should die before I finish, I pray to you, dear God, in the name of Jesus, that any outstanding sins will be forgiven. Amen. That is my prayer, and you know that is my daily prayer before I start the webcast or even in the webcast. And I am just so thankful because of everything that God has blessed us with. Does wealth make a difference? Does wealth make a difference? And I think about the difference, the racial inequity, inequality. I think about that, and this is a concern of mine because more on my end as a person, they call us African American, they call us black, they call us Negro, and just whatever the what name of the year or day is. That's what they do. But I prefer to be called by my name, who I am, and my skin tone is brown. And you can see my skin tone is brown, but I know that they refer to our skin tone, whether it's light or dark as black. But then you've heard me say that there are actually some black, like the color black, dark black people in this world that exist. Their skin tone is black. It is so dark black that it has what is it, hue of blue in it, dark blue. So I mean, hey, I guess people know by now that it matters not. I'm not concerned because this is point of view, and I have my own point of view, and this is my life, and my skin is not black, and I'm not saying I'm not identifying with the race of people that they what now are calling black people. That's not what I'm saying. But my skin is brown, okay? It's a brownish color, it's a brown tone. And so is yours, I'm pretty sure of. But I'm going to go on, okay? Now, getting to this, does wealth make a difference? I think that's my topic. Does wealth make a difference? I am so concerned, and I thank you so much for being with me. As I said, and I always say, because you are wonderful, you are awesome, you are fantastic, and I thank you for being with me. I have a concern, and it's not just a recent concern, it has been a concern of mine for so long as to why the people of our ethnicity, many of them seem to let their guard down, and they think because some of those who are, would say, have lots of money and possessions, which is classified as wealthy or rich, affluent, to so many let their guard down, thinking that they're equal with the rest of the people who are wealthy, who are of another ethnic persuasion. But that is not true. That is not true. You can look at what's happening today. You can look at what's happened in the past at the people, affluent people of our ethnicity, who have gotten into trouble or been accused of something. Sometimes they're falsely accused, sometimes they're rightly accused, okay? But what is the first thing they go for when they get them in the system? That money. They will freeze their money. They will do everything. And I'm talking about the system, the justice system. It's biased all the way. Yes, it is. And the first thing they go for is that source of wealth. That's the first thing. And so my thing is, why do people allow themselves to think, oh, I am rich, I am powerful because I am wealthy, I have money, I have great possessions, I am wealthy, I am above the average person. But no, you're not. If you are of African uh, persuasion, if you have some African blood in you, even if you have minority blood, a drop of it, they say that classifies you as a minority. And I'm telling you, don't let your guard down. If your guard is down, put it back up, because we have seen what has happened to people. Look at O.J. Simpson. Look at R. Kelly. Look at Bill Cosby. They tried, but Bill Cosby is a smooth operator. They didn't get a hold of his. Then there are other ones, like now we have Sean Combs in the news. I don't know whether he did what he did or not. If he did what he did, then I hope justice prevails, just like I would with anyone else if justice prevails. But then there have been so many who have been falsely accused. But even justifiable or not, the first thing they go for is that wealth, that affluence, that causes you to be affluent. They want to take all of that away. And let me tell people, we've seen it happen, and we've seen it happen because you're affluent, as they call it, because you're wealthy and we have money, you're rich, you have many possessions, and many have worked and worked for that and earned that money and that wealth and that position that they have. But I'm telling you, you have to watch the people. They will praise you and they will be supposedly in your corner. They will be there supposedly for you. But in the meantime, depending on who they are trying to get the least negative thing on you so they can bring you down. And I don't understand why people fail to realize that. They think that they are all up there. Like, I'm going to say this again, like I heard one of the supervisors of the church say, they think they're all that and a bag of potato chips. But this webcast is to make people think about it. I want people to be wealthy. I want them to have affluence. I want them to have influence, but be careful. And when you get it, what do you do with it? How do you use it? What's your demeanor? What's your frame of mind? Do you believe that you're much better and higher than anyone else of your own ethnicity? So many display that. Many people display that, but I want to say be careful, be careful, be careful. Whether these people are justifiably charged with things that they're in jail for, they're being indicted for, and all of that, if they're justifiable or if it's not justifiable, it makes no difference. All they want to get a hold of is that wealth, and they want to cut you off from it. Let me tell you, jealousy is as cruel as the grave. And people will, what is it, smile in your face, and all the time they want to take your place. That's that song, some of the lyrics in that song, Backstabber. And then what is the song? Let me see, there's another song, I think it's a staple singers, they have a song also talking about smiling faces. Who's that? That's not the staple singer. There's a smiling faces. Beware of the pat on the back. It just might hold you back. Jealousy, envy. Don't tell me you can't see. Smiling faces. I'm telling you, all the smiling faces are not smiling for your success. And it just really bothers me. And I look at the people and how they're trying to get negativity on them. And like I said, I'm not saying it's justifiable or not. I just want to people to do the right thing. When you have and you can help other people, not saying they don't help other people, that's not what I'm saying, but don't think more highly of yourself than you ought to, because there's always someone wanting to bring you down. And once they get a grip, whether it's justifiable or not, if they get some papers on you, that will put you in their clutches and under their control, the first thing they're going for is that affluence, the source of your wealth. And I know we've seen it over and over again. So there is an article, and I hope that this site will let me get to it and be able to present it to you, because I asked the question, and you see the question right there. Okay, where is my stream here? Does wealth make a difference? And President Biden has been working on the disparity of the wealth and all that. He's been working on that. And I'm going to go there, but there's an article. Let me see if this is it, because this is I have found one in Time magazine, and I don't know whether it's going to mess up on me or not. 5 facts that explain America's enduring racial divide. I have that. Also, I have this from NPR, and I don't know whether NPR is going to let me do that or not, because I really do want to read that. Money may not shield prosperous blacks from bigotry, survey says. And, I don't like saying that word black concerning me or my people, my ethnicity, but that's what they accept. I don't accept it, but each to each his and her own. Money may not shield blacks from bigotry, survey says. And this is an October the 24th, 2017 piece. And it was heard on the morning edition on NPR, edition on NPR by it's Brackton Booker. And so I hope I can read this to you, because it says Philip Thompson, a Gulf War veteran and a lawyer with his own practice, when he moved to his exclusive Leesburg, Virginia enclave more than a decade ago, many of his mostly white neighbors assumed he had to be a professional athlete to afford his home. Now, let me remind you, money may not shield prosperous blacks. This is the title. I didn't write it, so I respect the writer, and this is the writer's topic. And it's NPR, and it's you, me, and them experiencing discrimination in America. Money may not shield prosperous blacks from bigotry, survey says. Let me go here. So it should be a 3 to 4 minute read. Philip Thompson lives in an exclusive, gated community with a golf course in one of the wealthiest exurbs of Washington, D.C. Inside his spacious home, African artwork decorates the walls alongside framed pictures of his children's high school graduation and an American flag by the front entrance. He is a retired lieutenant colonel in the in the Marine Corps. He's a retired lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps, a Gulf War veteran, and a lawyer with his own practice. But when Thompson, 55, moved to Leesburg, Virginia, his moved to his Leesburg, Virginia neighborhood 12 years ago, that's 12 years, so 20 that would be 12 years from 2017, okay? Many of his mostly white neighbors made assumptions about how he could afford his house. You couldn't have gotten here on your guile or your knowledge or being capable. I had to be a football player, Thompson said. I just play into it like, no, I'm a rapper and I'm a pimp. I'm a retired pimp. I'm going to play on your stereotypes because then it makes you look even stupider. And that's what Philip Thompson, one of his quotes, Thompson, who is also president of his local NAACP chapter, has a sharp report to those questions he felt were meant to size him up about his worthiness of being in this well off neighborhood. He said, I just played into it all. Like, no, I'm a rapper. I just read that quote from him. He said, it is widely held. It's a widely held notion that for many African Americans who have made it, those who earn a good salary, live in a neighborhood with good schools and low crime, that maybe, just maybe, being the target of discrimination would be minimized. A new poll by NPR, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health surveyed more than 800 African Americans and found that for prosperous blacks, money does not shield them from bigotry. And this is true today. What is the first thing they go for? They get after is that money. They want to separate you from your money. Okay? Thompson's wife, Tanja, said discrimination plays out in subtle ways. Even living here in a gated community, there's definitely racism, she said. She is a former senior master sergeant in the Air Force and now works as a mediator in the federal government. My goodness. So you see people, maybe in a professional setting, but when you see them in the street, they turn the other direction. And then they wonder, why are you here? Or how did you get here? The survey found more than half of African Americans overall say they have personally experienced slurs or that someone has made negative assumptions about them because of their race. Okay, does wealth make a difference? Not at all. But when broken down by income of blacks, folks who are high earners, those making $75,000 a year or more, 65% say they were the target of racial slurs, compared with 40% of blacks who made $25,000 or less. High income African Americans outpaced their lower income counterparts once again in the issue of people making negative assumptions about them. 73% and 45%, respectively. We're not just going to solve this problem by having more black college graduates, and that's the truth. And that's a quote by Robert Blendon. The numbers are just staggering in the share of people who report sometime in their life they were discriminated against because of their race or they were treated very unfairly, and that is significant, said Robert Brendan, professor of health policy at Harvard School of Public Health, and who worked on the study. We're not just going to solve this problem by having more black college graduates, he said. Tanya Thompson has her theories about why high income African Americans may face more discrimination. When they make $75,000 or more, $100,000, you are dealing with more educated individuals and probably morose, moreso people. Oh no, that's a typo right there. Let me go back. They have a typo here. When you make $75,000 or more, $100,000, you are dealing with more educated individuals and probably more so people who don't look like you, Thompson said. Algernon Austin is an economist at the think tank Demos and the author of the book America is Not Post Racial. I think what sometimes people miss is what are the comparisons. He points out that college educated and high earning black folks are in many ways more likely to be better off than black people who earn less. But hey, prejudice has no discrimination, okay? Prejudice is not discriminatory. Whatever the tone of your skin is, people judge you by that, okay? So don't get fooled up. Don't be so heady and high minded that you cannot and will not realize this. Okay. Now, let me get back into this. But Austin, who did not work on NPR's poll, adds there is overwhelming data showing that when comparing educated and high earning blacks to their white counterparts, the gap is substantial. The college educated whites are going to have significantly more wealth, going to be less likely unemployed. They're moving further in terms of their careers, he said. So, in that comparison, what African Americans see reinforces the sense of inequality in American society. And I don't like saying the word white either. I would rather say Caucasian, but hey, that's me, okay? That is me, and that's my right, all right? But I didn't write this, okay? So let me read this part again. The college educated whites are going to have significantly more wealth, going to be less likely unemployed. They're moving further in terms of their careers, he said. So, in that comparison, what African Americans see reinforces the sense of inequality in American society. It's a sense shared by Philip Thompson. I should probably be in a better position. I think if I were a white guy, I'd be in a better position. Of course you would, but we need better people to give what you as you're going to face racism. You do it's going to happen. Remember who you are, that you image, and you are no less than any other man, woman, boy, girl in this earth. But you have to realize now that you will be discriminated against because of your skin tone. It matters not how much money you have, what kind of house you live in. Sometimes that makes people even hate you more, okay? Hate you even more. So money may not shield prosperous blacks from bigotry, survey says, but this is not to discourage us from reaching the goals that we set for ourselves as far as affluence, wealth, riches. But just remember to be level headed and always be aware of your surroundings and be aware of the fact that everybody does not accept you. First of all, for who you are, your skin tone, and even if you are a mega millionaire, a mega billionaire, your skin tone still has so much to do with how people treat you. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And that's a fact. You, me, and them experiencing discrimination in America. Then, and like I said, like I started out, it really bothers me because once the justice system, and they call it a justice system, but hey, you know that it's not just justice for all. Talking about liberty and justice for all. No, it's not. It's not. But once it gets you into its clutches, the first thing, if you are of uh, the ethnicity that I am, and they call it black, African American, Negro, whatever they call it, you will experience it because the first thing they're going for is your wealth. Don't ever forget that. It is the truth. It is the truth. People might not want to hear it, they might not want to believe it, but it is the truth. And just look at how something happened a few years ago, and because this young man was a Caucasian, he got off until he went and messed up. He just kept they giving him chance after chance, and he just messed, you know, hey, messed over the system. So these five facts explain America's enduring racial divide, and this is Time Magazine, and I hope I can read this to you. Monty Talmadge walks past the memorial on the sidewalk in front of Emmanuel African American Episcopal Church after a mass shooting at the church killed 9 people in Charleston, South Carolina on June 20th, 2015. This is by Ian Bremer. This is June 29th, 2015, okay? And this is Time Magazine. Baltimore was 2 months ago. Ferguson was 8 months ago. Now remember, this is 2015, okay? And now Charleston. For many Black Americans, there really are two Americas. You hear that? Thank you so much for being with me. These points have to be brought out because so many of our people let their guard down, and they think that just because they have riches that they are above prejudice and racial inequality and all that kind of stuff. No, you are not. No, you are not. For real, you're not. As as a thought experiment, we looked at the health, wealth, and other stats on Black America and compared it internationally. The results show that America, all of America, needs to do much, much better. Number one, education. Education is supposed to be the great equalizer. The world may not be fair, but it's supposed to be a lot fairer within the four walls of a classroom. But the numbers tell a different story. African Americans are twice as likely as whites not to finish high school. If white America were a country, its high school graduation rates would rank with the likes of the UK and Finland. Black America would be on par with Chile and Poland. Black students are suspended and expelled at roughly 3 times the rate of their white counterparts. Of students who receive multiple suspensions, 42% are black, and 34% of students expelled are black. And the world they are and the world they are sent out to isn't much kinder. You hear that? This was what, 2015? My. Number two, wealth. What happens after high school? 21% of whites and up successfully completing a college degree compared to only 13% of blacks. But even if they achieve the milestone, the payoff is nowhere near the same. A white family at the median sees a return of approximately $56,000 after completing a 4 year degree. A black family sees a return of around $4,900. Do you see that? In fact, black household wealth is just over the median wealth of an adult in the Palestinian territories, which is not a comparison you want to see made about any group living in America in 2015. Now, looking at GDP per capita, blacks make $23,000 compared to U.S. national average of $53,000. Now, if Black America really were its own country, it would be ranked 44th globally on that figure between crisis hit Portugal and post communist Lithuania. The most damning statistic, what is it? The median black household has just 6% of the total wealth, $7,113, that the median white household has, $111,146. There is a gap, and that still exists today in 2024. Okay? Health. No surprise, a less wealthy lifetime means a less healthy lifetime, and it starts from the beginning. Infant mortality for blacks in America is 11.5 for every 1,000 births. The figure for whites is 5.2. Black Americans rates put them with the likes of Mexico, 12.58, and Thailand, 9.86, whereas white Americans are much closer to Switzerland, 3.73, and Japan, 2.13. That's how the racial disparity starts. But how does it end? Black Americans can expect to live a full 4 years less on average than whites, who on average make it to 79. A life expectancy of 75 years places Black Americans below Tunisia, Panama, Costa Rica, and Cuba. For incarceration, and when I first started doing point of view back in, I guess, 2011, 2012, or 2013, I did the a, a piece on institutional slavery. I did a piece on that. So I'm going here. Number four in here is incarceration. From bad to worse, 1 in 3 black males will go to prison at some point in their life if current trends continue, compared to 1 in 17 white males. Women fare better, but not much. Black women are incarcerated at only twice the rate that white women are across the country. Overall, blacks only make up some 14% of the national population, but are 38% of the total prison population. My goodness. And this is 2015, okay? So if Black America were its own country, it would rank number 3 on the world list of absolute prison incarceration, ahead of Russia, Brazil, India, and Thailand. And once in prison, it gets worse. 60% of all prisoners sent to solitary confinement are black. You hear that, honey? I'm telling you, it's bad all over. Number 5, violence. America's homicide rate is a national tragedy, but it's much worse if you're black. America's rate of 2.5 deaths per 100,000 is just somewhat higher than Finland, 2.0, Belgium, 1.7, and Greece, 1.7. But at 19.4 deaths per 100,000 people, Black America's homicide rate puts it above Burma, 15.2, and just below Nigeria, 20.0. But its fatal police shootings it's fatal police shootings where the figures become truly tragic. If you are a young black male in America today, you are 21 times more likely to be shot and killed by a police officer than if you are a young white male. If you're black, you're also more than twice as likely to be shot and killed by a police officer while unarmed. Over the past year, this is in 2015. Now remember this, okay? 2015. Okay, let me make sure that I'm still, because I don't see my thing moving here. Make sure that you're still hearing me. I want to make sure of that. Oh, yes, I'm still on here. Let me go back to my stats here, what I'm talking about. Make sure that I get this right. Over the past year, 41% of all unarmed people killed by police were black. America is better than this. It's about time we show it. They haven't straightened up yet. They haven't straightened up yet. Okay, let's see. People sing We Shall Overcome during a service at Morris Brown AME Church in Charleston on June 18, 2015. The Reverend Shirley Davis leads mourners during a community prayer service, and there's some pictures here for five for the 9 victims of the shooting at the historic Emmanuel African American Methodist Episcopal Church at Second Presbyterian Church in Charleston on June 18, 2015. And then I know there's one situation where the one that did the killing, he was Caucasian. And I don't know whether it was this church or another one of churches of our persuasion, ethnic persuasion majority, but one went in and stayed in there while they were doing their Bible study and then killed the people. And I believe he's the one that, before the police took him to jail, they stopped him at a fast food place and got him some food. Now, that is the report. I don't believe there's any way they would have done that if it had been one of us. I'm telling you, there is a difference. And then they, we've seen where police tolerate so much more from the people of other ethnic persuasions than they do our ethnicity, ethnic persuasion. They don't kill them many times. They don't shoot at them. They do all kinds of old stuff. I remember one time we saw a video of one man that was not of African persuasion, and he had done something and he had gotten away from them, and I think he was like hopping on cars and things. And do you know they didn't shoot one bullet at him? If that had been any of us, they would have killed us dead. And you know that I'm telling the truth. I'm not, and you know that I'm not teaching prejudices. I'm not teaching racism. I'm teaching the facts that America is not equal. There is a great racial divide in America. There's a difference in how the ethnic groups are treated. And the people of African persuasion are treated, I believe, worse than any group there is. I'm telling you. And that was just a report from 2015. And then I have another, which President Biden is working on. And I'm going to read part of this. This is the U.S. Department of Treasury 2024 Racial Equity Progress Report. Okay? President Biden's administration has been working on this. And I'm going to read the introduction. Over the past 3 years, the U.S. Department of Treasury has made substantial progress on President Biden's vision to foster an inclusive economy. From Secretary Yellen's first day in office, Treasury has designed and implemented an ambitious racial equity agenda to address long-standing disparities in investment and opportunities that keep some communities from fully benefiting from and contributing to the nation's economic growth and prosperity. And I want to say this. Many of you know that I was raised in Denison, and some people, well, I'm not really worried about what other people think. Some people say reared and some say raised, but we were brought up and we say raised in Denison, Texas. And they say one of the rich Caucasian ladies in Denison left some money for a library to be built for the African American community. Now, I heard that. I didn't see any papers, but I heard it. Let me see here. For some reason, but I did. Let me see if you're still hearing me. Okay, yes, you are. Thank God. I'm glad you're still hearing me. And they said that she left money to build a library for our community. But how about it? Hadn't been built yet, has it? Hmm. Okay. Now let me get back to this president, what I'm talking about, President Biden. They're working on it, okay? President Biden is. It says, from Secretary Yellen's first day in office, Treasury has designed and implemented an ambitious racial equity agenda to address long-standing disparities in investment and opportunities that keep some communities from fully benefiting from and contributing to the nation's economic growth and prosperity. And that's why I remembered about them saying that the lady left money so that a library could be built for our community, but it never ever was, okay? Never was. All right. That's what I heard. Okay. This agenda is integral to the Treasury's overall mission, which is to maintain a strong economy by promoting conditions that enable equitable and sustainable economic growth at home and abroad, combat threats to and protect the integrity of the financial system and manage the U.S. government's finances and resources effectively. When the Biden Harris administration assumed office in January 2021, the nation was grappling with a pandemic claiming more than 3,000 lives per day that starkly exposed and exacerbated existing health and economic disparities. This crisis laid bare the economic marginalization experienced by many long overlooked segments of our society. With this in mind, President Biden issued Executive Order 13985 requiring federal agencies to examine their programs and policies to identify and work to redress barriers to economic mobility and opportunity in response to the out there. I think I'm supposed to go back up here. In response to the okay. Okay, let me make sure that I get the right thing. Yeah, it's a section I have to go to. Treasury published an equity action plan in 2021. Okay, the Department of Treasury. The report details the steps the Treasury has taken to drive an inclusive economy, the results observed to date, and additional steps planned in 2024 and beyond. Treasury has benefited significantly from the advice, insights, and recommendations of TACRE as noted throughout the report. The report is divided into 6 sections. And then let me go. And the U.S. Department of the Treasury has made substantial progress on President Biden's vision to foster an inclusive economy. It has worked on that. Now I'm going back up here. The Treasury published the Department an equity action plan in 2021 and an updated plan in February 2024. In addition, Treasury established the Treasury Advisory Committee on Racial Equity, which is TACRE acronym, designated under Federal Advisory Commerce Act, Committee Act, designated under the Federal Advisory Committee Act. TACRE brings experts together to advise the Treasury on addressing acute disparities among communities of color that have historically been underserved, marginalized, and adversely affected by persistent poverty and inequality. The department's approach to equity is fundamental to producing strong outcomes for all Americans, including communities of color, low income families, and rural areas that have long been cut off from meaningful investments in economic growth. By coupling data driven approaches with deep engagement with community representatives and experts like those on TACRE to design policies, we can meet our nation's highest ideals of economic enfranchisement while boosting productivity that will benefit every American. This approach helps Treasury and the Biden administration drive the most equitable economic recovery on record. Do you hear that? When you hear these people talking all that stuff about President Biden and Vice President Harris, they haven't done this and they haven't done anything to help America. Those people have been working ever since they got into office. Treasury is now taking lessons from the economic recovery as the administration strengthens our long term economic foundation. Recent investments from President Biden's American Rescue Plan Act, which is the ARPA, CHIPS and Science Act, Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, that's the BIL, and Inflation Reduction Act, that's IRA, are transforming our economy. As the nation fortifies and expands its infrastructure, develops resilient supply chains, and produces record levels of clean energy to lower costs, significant new opportunities are available for workers, small businesses, and communities. By unleashing the economic potential of communities that have long been overlooked and underserved, the Treasury promotes greater financial security across generations and more broadly, shared prosperity for all. And then it says the report details the steps the Treasury has taken to drive an inclusive economy. the results observed to date, and additional steps planned in 2024 and beyond. And there are some sections that's benefited significantly from the advice, insights, and accommodations at TACRE, as noted throughout the reports. The report is divided into six sections. I'm just going to read the sections. Driving and equitable recovery is number one. Number two is meeting communities where they are. Number three is building intergenerational assets. Number four is making tax systems work for all. Number five, measuring success and expanding research. And number six, fostering an inclusive Treasury Department discusses the data driven approach Treasury is taking to develop a department that reflects the nation's diversity. And you can find that at home.treasury.gov. Okay, home.treasury.gov. And so, what I want to go back and say is that I know that some people don't agree. Nobody agrees with people all the time, they just don't do it. Sometimes people just don't agree, and that's our prerogative. That's why God made us as individual beings. It gave us our own individual mind where we can think for ourselves, our own individual everything. And so I am just saying be careful because there is racial injustice that is very, very prevalent in this world. Not only the United States of America, but in this world. But where we live, it is terrible. And so I don't want anybody thinking just because you're affluent, just because you're rich, just because you're wealthy, just because you have this and that, and you feel like you're on top of the world and you're above everybody else. I want you to come down to earth because you're no more important to injustice than any of the rest of us, okay? No more important to justice than any of the rest of us because we suffer injustice each and every day. It's the climate, and the climate is more uh, prevalent. The actions is prejudices and injustice is thicker now in the atmosphere because of a certain person who's going around and uh, encouraging and approving of all of this stuff. So just be careful. Because you are wealthy, because you're affluent, doesn't mean that you are above the rest. When it comes to the skin tone, that's what makes the difference. That makes the difference. We've seen it and heard of it throughout history and her story. Her and his stories, okay? And it's the same today. And the thing that we can do is to embrace each other, not excluding the rest of the world. But what do they say? A family that prays together stays together. I believe a race that prays together, I believe they stay together. And if you are together, if you are united, you have that strength that you need and you can overcome anything. But first of all, we have to come together as one. The majority has to come together as one in order to be able to accomplish the things that need to be accomplished as far as uh, dealing with this racial disparity, prejudices, racism, everything that's negative. If we come together we can deal with it. What does it say? United we stand, divided we fall. And so I want you out there. Just because you're affluent, just because you consider yourself rich and you are considered rich by society, because you're considered wealthy by society, if you are of African American persuasion, I'm talking to us today, you are just as vulnerable to racism, injustice as any of the rest of us. I just want to put that out there because it's very important. We see it happening each and every day. And let me tell you this, the first thing, if the injustice system, or what they call the justice system, gets a hold of you, the first thing they're going to do is separate you from your wealth. It's going to be. That's the way it is. And so I'm praying for each and every one. I'm praying that we will come together as an ethnic group, as a race of people, and stand together, help each other, love each other. We are so divided. And it's because of what they call that, what is it, slavery mentality. Because during the times of slavery, in which we know slavery still exists, but during the time of slavery, they pitted our people against the others. That had to do with color, skin tone, classification, everything. They pitted us against each other, and that still exists today. I think about um, Spike Lee's movie, is it School Days? Where the lighter skin was against the darker skin and all of this. I tell you. But anyway, that's what I had to talk about today. Just because you might be affluent doesn't mean that you are immune to the prejudices, the racial disparity, all the injustice, because you are not. You're in the same place with every other one of us. So, together, we must stand, okay? If we're divided, we fall. I love you. Please enjoy the remainder of your day. You are wonderful, and I thank you. I guess you could say I just had to uh, pour out some things that are on my mind. And these things, you can look them up yourself. Go to the 2024 and look up the statistics and all of that racial disparity, prejudices, and all of that. Whoever says it doesn't exist is not telling the truth because it is alive and well. And it is alive and well. I love you so much. Enjoy the remainder of your day. Tomorrow, God willing, will be the Mother's Board Inc. at 1 p.m. I love you.